Hit record. Do the record thing. Why do you wait? Just get in.
Yeah, it's recording now. That's how the podcast will begin, with you chastising me about hitting record.
Yeah. In the olden days, we never, talked about hitting record.
Oh, we just, in the olden days, the song would end and we'd have to start talking and say, thank you, and here we go with another show. But now we can ease into things.
Hey, remember in the olden days you had to push 2 buttons to record? Play and record together?
Yeah, what was that all about?
That's the way, on cassette recorders all the way up to big, huge, expensive machines, you had to push play and record together. Reel-to-reel machines that we grew up with.
Yeah, how come they couldn't have figured out, why we have like one button record now? Why is that?
I guess it was more a safety feature. You don't want to, record over something you've already recorded, I guess. So you...
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you don't know, if you don't know, nobody knows.
Yeah. It was much more dear in the day. I mean, we can undo in this day and age, but in the olden days, if you recorded over something, of which I had done many times, that you just finished working on, then it's gone. There's no getting it back, right?
That's right. For instance, this last minute and a half would be lost.
I literally checked out.
Oh, I know you did. I could see you were looking at something else. Well, actually, to be fair, you didn't even check in. You had not. You hadn't checked out. You forgot to check in.
I was looking at something on the wall.
No, I know. I saw that. I saw you staring off into space, thinking.
That's it. At one point, new mindfulness.
No, Fred was just thinking. Space, at some point, when do we get to the important stuff?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Dan, that Christmas tree. Where are the decorations? Do you not put decorations on your tree, or what?
Yes, but it's early days. The shushing. Is that how you say it? Shushing. The shushing.
The shushing
hasn't begun. The shushing, that makes, you have to pull the parts. It's in storage.
Oh, okay.
So it's shushing. You have to pull it apart. And then the next process is probably this weekend. Some, the baubles and things will go on it.
Oh, so you're on your way. Attaboy.
On the way, yeah. Working on it. Yeah. Working on it here, yeah.
But do lights not count as decorations?
Oh, those lights are inside the tree. They, you store them with the lights on them.
I'm sorry, you do what?
They're stored with the lights on them. Haven't you bought an artificial tree before?
I did once years ago, and the story is the Glassman family hated it, and I brought it home, set it up. Everyone hated it, so I took it back.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, these ones have sort of like built-in lights, right, Dan? You don't have to string the lights.
Yeah.
That's a nice option.
Yeah, artificial tree technology has come a long way.
So if we can tie it all together, the lights included with the tree have basically replaced the play and record from the tree world.
Yes, exactly.
How do you like that, Dan? I just thought I'd tie it all together. So the last 3 minutes...
Tie it up,
so that the last 3 minutes would make some sense. Yeah. That's what I do. That's my superpower.
Yeah. Wasn't entirely neat, but yes, it kind of makes sense-ish.
Okay, if I could get back to some substance here. These built-in lights on the tree, what if one goes out? Do they all go out? Or what is that situation? So if that happened, you have to replace the tree? This is my only concern with the trees with the built-in lights. Or if one goes out, it's just one. Like, I don't get that whole... Can you replace the bulbs?
With this tree, I believe you can.
Oh, all right.
You can replace the bulbs. I mean, there are other LEDs.
Well, what are the other options? If one light goes out, you have to toss the tree?
No. Like the one I have, you get those cheap strings of lights, and with some of them, if one light goes out, the whole string goes out, and trying to fix it, it's not worthy. You just toss them and buy another one.
Yeah. No, I understood that part.
But I like that concept of the lights always on it.
So in this particular case, if one of those bulbs went out, it doesn't trigger the rest of the circuit. You just can replace that bulb.
Right, yeah. You can. It's more of a premium product in that way.
Yeah. A few years ago, when we were dealing with the barter company, they were... Is that where you got that tree you're talking about, Howard?
No, I got it at Canadian Tire. This was years ago. This was when I still had the matrimonial home.
Anyway, I saw the picture of it, and I thought, that looks pretty good. And then I forget what it was in barter dollars. And then when I got it home, it was so sad. we wanted to keep it. It was like almost like Charlie Brown. So I still put it up here in the corner. But you just have to absolutely massacre it with lights and bubbles or whatever you call them, ornaments. But maybe it's time for me to buy one of these with the built-in lights.
Maybe it is time.
And it'll be around longer than me.
Yeah,
I just have a question. I have a question. Is this the substance part?
Yes, this is the substance.
I wasn't sure. I apologize. I checked back in waiting for the substance part. I'm sorry, Dan. Please continue.
Well, do you do the real tree then in your world?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nope. See, nope. Lisa used to do the real tree, but she was living in Vancouver for a while, and the high rise that she was managing there did not have that had a policy where you couldn't have real trees.
Oh,
in the tower because I don't know, they gummed up the elevators.
Or
so the needles would fall off the tree into the elevator, and then they'd have to maintain.
I would think they dry out, and they're like tinder boxes. And if you're in a high rise on the 17th floor and a tree catches fire, that's a problem.
It is a problem. I just had this vision of a flaming Christmas tree being tossed over the balcony.
Yeah.
You know what we do here now?
What do we do now?
No, do you want to know what I do here?
Oh, what do you do there?
Yeah, what do you do there?
Well, for years and years, we had real trees. And even in this downtown location of the Glassman family Christmas, I've had trees. And then a couple of years ago, it got to the point where the kids weren't going to be here for a couple of days. And the Christmas sort of celebration went from like 3 or 4 days of hanging out to just a couple of days. And I didn't really want to bother. So I'm sure I've taken a picture of it, but I have like what do you call it? Like a column in my living room. There's a couple of columns there. Like
support columns.
But they, so they're, so I just decorate those. I do.
Wow.
I just
put funny. I'm putting ornaments and everything.
I do. I put ornaments around it, and then I put tinsel and put I have like a tree skirt that I put around it, and then that's where we put the presents.
Do you put that up during the commercials for your golf and football games?
Yeah, I do that during a commercial break. I can quickly. No, I mean, it still takes the effort. I just don't. What it eliminates is the bringing in and disposing of the tree.
Yeah, and if you don't get a lot of traffic throughout your house for everybody to enjoy it, why bother? I'm the same way. I don't put the tree up down here until like the week before Christmas because there's really no action down here till then. One other little tip here. The other day I'm sitting down here. If you would arrange the lights in the room properly and get it all cozy, and then put the fireplace channel on your TV, it's a pretty neat vibe. It's not bad.
All tips are hacks, by the way. Now, so
hacks.
Yeah, you're hacked. Yeah.
So I was sitting here, and it was all cozy, and I had the fireplace channel on. But the only problem with that is you can't watch TV. You'd have to have 2 TVs.
Well, I mean, it sounds amazing, but I have a question for you.
What's that?
Don't you also have a fireplace?
No, I know. But I was whipping through and I saw it, and I just thought, well, if somebody used this and a guy wanted to save a few bucks on fire logs, would this work? And I thought, with the right attitude, it's all about attitude.
Oh, is
you have
it?
the right attitude, it could be, this is a sort of a warm feeling.
Sure it is.
But again, I'm sitting there, okay, but now I can't watch TV because it's on the TV. So then I threw a fire log on. But for people, romantic and you don't want to watch TV and you want to on the couch and do some stuff, having that on might not be bad.
And what kind of stuff are you going to be doing on the couch? Anything, anything we're familiar with? Just you eating. Just you having a snack over your blanket.
Eating potato chips and all the crumbs are down the front of me.
That's right. Dan, before you jump in, I just want to say I had that the other day. I was watching some movie and I had a snack, and then when I got up to go to bed, I realized that a lot of the snack was still on my shirt.
Oh yeah,
that's great. It's just great.
Oh, yeah.
Dan, please, what do you?
Oh, I
what
was
did
just,
you
I
want
was
to
just
say?
going to say you need to complete the environment. You need some sort of like scented candles,
Yes.
tree scented candle to
Right.
get the whole thing kind of.
No, you're
but
right.
You paint a really non-traditional Christmas there.
What are you
A real-
talking
a
about?
real
It's
fake
very
Christmas.
traditional. It's got a fireplace. He's got an old tree. It's very romantic. By the way,
Yes.
before we start, we're going to do the intro here in a second. But
Okay.
yes, all tips are hacks. But I do see that thrown around. Like sometimes you'll see that in an article. They'll say pro tip. So that's still being used. So I mean,
Okay.
I think Fred can get away with a tip, even though most people like to talk about them as hacks. Here's a pro tip: hacks and tips.
Hey, by the way, the aquarium channel's brilliant because with a big screen TV, it's almost, it's the same shape as an aquarium. So you can sit there. The only and it takes about, I think the loop is about 20 minutes, I believe.
What
So
takes 20 minutes?
The loop of seeing the same fish.
Oh, I see.
Swim across the screen in the same path. So it's all right.
Yeah. Have you done the research by sitting there for 20 minutes?
Actually, yes, I have.
Well,
because I was interested to see how repetitive it was, and it was about 20 minutes, I think.
how long would you have stayed
Don't
there?
hold me to that.
No, but how long would you have stayed there? Would you have stayed there?
20 minutes.
Well, that's first of all, that's way longer than a person should stare at the aquarium channel.
No, you're right.
But that's part of Fred's new mindfulness is that. So yeah.
Well, I didn't know it was new, but I'm just trying to think. Okay, what were you doing that yesterday when I said to you, "Hey, do you have time to have a meeting with me?" You're like, "No, I'm watching the aquarium channel."
No. No, I was actually sitting in the front room reading my book. Bill Maher's book. You won't believe what this comedian just said or whatever. Very interesting, especially when you read stuff in retrospect. But we won't get into that now.
Well, why don't we get
You know what
into
I mean?
this? Why don't we get Dan Duran to do what he does so very nicely? Here we go.
This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring frost on blades of green grass, and from Peterborough at Lisa's dining room table next to a fake Christmas tree with trendy white lights. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Keith Weiland Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa. The Retirement Sherpa. The Chambers Plan.
Retirement Sherbert.
I do love a good sherbet, though. Yeah. Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now here are two men who are trying to decide if American Thanksgiving is on their officially approved H&F holiday list. Let's see, Christmas out, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day in, Easter out, whatever. It's Humble and Fred.
Thank you, Dad.
Very busy show today. Our buddies Stu Stone and Adam Deveris. That's not it. Well,
Different
Stu
day?
Stone. Adam Rodness. Sorry, I was looking at an email from Justin Devarness. Anyway, Adam and Stu are going to be here. They've got a new movie called Don't Fuck With Ghosts. And it's out right now on Apple TV and will be available on Hollywood Suite. I had a screener copy. I watched it yesterday. Very amusing. Did you see any of it, Freddie?
Yes, parts of it. You watched the whole thing beginning, Dan?
I watched it while I was doing some stuff. I kind of had it on, watched it while we were getting ready for the show yesterday morning, and I had it on while I was, having lunch. And yeah, I'd say I saw most of it.
Yeah. I saw enough to know what it's all about.
Mike Boone just messaged me. It'll just be Stu Stone. Stu was if you've never heard Stu on the show before, he's always great. He was a child actor. Pretty good. I mean, had a lot of pretty good roles. Was in the Magic School Bus. I believe one of the characters was him and Donnie Darko. But I saw enough of it. It's it's an interesting little mockumentary. Another thing, of course, Jay Bondi will be here. The OG Sherpa is on hiatus.
Yeah.
So it's Sherpa Jay today.
Yeah.
And all kind of other stuff as well.
Very timely. Maybe he can, address, the tariff threat by the orange idiot, and what it could mean to our portfolios. Not only that, I wonder, is Tony on the schedule in the next little while? I'd like to get his spin on it. Because
Tony is, I don't think he's scheduled until next month, but next month is next week. So let me see here.
All right. And that Canadian embarrassment, Kevin O'Leary, was on Fox yesterday saying that Trump should just deal with Polyev because Trudeau is just lame duck. He's going to lose the election. The Conservatives are going to win by a vast majority, so Trump should just be talking to Polyev, nobody else. Man, he's an embarrassing individual for this country, from my perspective.
Yeah, I've been lucky, though. I haven't had a whole lot of, haven't spent a whole lot of time. I mean, I saw that.
Well,
I saw that
it's
article.
all over the news.
No, I saw it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I just didn't spend much time with it because I'm still trying to figure out why he's the go-to guy for all of this. But what's his point?
Oh, because he's Mr. Wonderful.
Yes, I know. I know he's Mr. Wonderful.
Self-titled Mr. Wonderful.
It's like making Dan call us the legendary Humble and Fred show. Next week, no, Tony's not on the schedule for some time. I don't know why, but Darren Frost is next week. So is Bill Brio, and a week from today, we're pleased to announce the return of Jeffrey Merrick.
Oh, nice.
Oh, great.
Jeff Merrick will check in. So I watched some of the mockumentary yesterday. I also watched the entire Anthony Jeselnik special, his third one on Netflix that just came out, called Bones and All. And I don't know if you know Anthony Jeselnik, or do you like Anthony Jeselnik?
Never heard of him, Howard. That's the first time I've ever heard his name, honestly.
Same here.
Well, fellas, Anthony Jeselnik has been around for about 20 years. He became famous back in the day. Actually, the Donald Trump roast on Comedy Central would have been one of the first opportunities for people to get to know Anthony Jeselnik. And he did a couple of roasts because he's a very dark sort of... he would be like, you know who's the curly-haired guy that does the one-liners, Fred?
Oh,
Stephen Wright.
I know. Stephen Wright.
He's like a dark Stephen Wright. And there's lots of people listening that have heard his name. But he's quite famous. He's another guy that, again, you guys haven't heard of, but he would sell out the Meridian Center. He would do 3,000 people. He's not quite at the sell out the Scotiabank Center level. Anyway, here's a little example. I thought you would... So whether you know him or not, check out his special. It's called Bones and All. This is his third special for Netflix. But I thought you might find this part interesting because he's commenting on Joe Rogan and the sort of bro comedy thing that has been going on with Joe Rogan and his pack. You want to listen to this little spot?
Sure.
Have a listen to Anthony Jeselnik.
Yes, I did mention Joe Rogan, guys. Do not get me wrong. I like Joe. Joe's my friend. Joe's a good guy. But if you listen to his podcast, you're a fucking loser. My brother-in-law is Joe Rogan's biggest fan. Never misses an episode. Doesn't think 4 hours is long enough. But my brother-in-law is Joe Rogan's target demographic. My brother-in-law is a conspiracy theorist. A crazy conspiracy theorist. Like, my brother-in-law refuses to become an organ donor because he swears that if you get into an accident and the paramedics see that you're an organ donor, they won't try to save your life because they want to use your organs to help someone else. It's insane. But I can't argue with him. He's a paramedic.
So that's a typical Jeselnik joke. He's very, he's sort of like little misdirection. Yeah. It's all kind of one-liners and things like that. But I thought you'd like the fact that he says, if you listen to Rogan, you're a fucking loser. Anyway, I think you guys would like it. It's very dark, and he's got some really, really funny jokes. He's a great joke writer, and his persona is like that of the You know, like the character, the heel in wrestling. You know, the guy. He's kind of like the pretend bad guy.
Yeah.
And so that's his whole persona. But anyway, I thought you'd like that joke.
So, did you mention, is he or has he been in Toronto?
Anthony Jess, I'm sure he has. You know, I'm sure he's. But I mean, he's kind of like a guy that, you know, as I've mentioned, you know, with the country and western analogy, he'd be a pretty big star in that comedy category.
Right. So you're saying he would do a couple of grand here in Toronto?
Oh, he would sell out easily.
Yeah.
That whatever that theater's called, he would sell that out.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. And the more you speak of these comics that I've rarely heard of or never heard of, the more I'm sort of intrigued by that whole industry and culture now, where, you know, they're not household names, but very popular. It's, you know what I mean? That aspect of it is very interesting, that somebody can ride through town and do a couple of nights with 2,500 right now. I've never heard of them before, but they're popular enough that people pay good money to see them.
Well, this guy would be somebody I thought at least one of you would have heard of. I'm surprised that neither of you have, because he's been around not only on Netflix, but he's had several shows on Comedy Central, and he's just one of those names. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I brought up this kid I saw a couple weeks ago, in that, like, I really like. There's a whole bunch of comedians that I watch on a regular basis that I really like. I've watched him over the years. My brother Steven and I were going back and forth yesterday about, hey, have you seen the new special? And even one of our regular contributors, Julie Fleming, said, hey, Howard, here's an article about Jesselnick. But he's one of those guys I think both of you would really like, because the jokes are very, very precise. You don't have to know anything about this guy. Other than that, he's got kind of a badass kind of vibe about him, but his jokes are all like that. They're all misdirections. And I really like it. Sometimes I listen to Stephen Wright, and I dig it for about 10 or 15 minutes, but I can't.
Right.
I can't go on beyond that. It becomes very sort of one tone.
You know, it's Stephen Wright. You're right. You're right about Stephen Wright.
Yeah.
5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes Stephen Wright, I've come across, when you read his stuff, say they'll have a list of the top 50 Stephen Wright lines, and you just sort of read them at your own pace. It's really funny what he does. But yeah, on a stage, one after another, yeah, it gets pretty tedious pretty quick. As brilliant and clever and funny as it can be.
By the way, you were talking about the kind of theater Jesselnick plays, and he'll be in Toronto on March 2nd at Massey Hall.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
What's Massey Hall? What does it seat? A couple of grand?
3,000, close to 3,000.
Oh, does it really? Wow. Good for him. See, look at that.
Here's a pretty famous bit of his called Thoughts and Prayers.
This is who I'm making fun of.
He's talking about how on the days of tragedies, how that's his last special, basically about virtue signaling. He's talking about how on a day of tragedy, people always go on social media talking about thoughts and prayers to the people who have been, hurt.
When I make a joke on Twitter the day of a tragedy, the people who see something horrible happen in the world, and they run to the internet, and they run to their social media, their Facebook, their Twitter, whatever they got, and they all write down the exact same thing. My thoughts and prayers. My thoughts and prayers with the people in Aurora. My thoughts and prayers with the families in Boston. Do you know what that's worth? Fucking nothing. Fucking less than nothing. Less than nothing. You are not giving any of your time, your money, or even your compassion. All you are doing is saying, don't forget about me today. Don't forget about me. Lots of crazy distractions in the news right now, but don't forget how sad I am.
I love that because it's so true. It's like, that's what people do. They're like, don't forget that I'm here too. Anyway, I think you guys would like him. He's very, very smart. And what made me think of you guys is that Joe Rogan clip. Anyway, thoughts and prayers. Go check it out. And his latest special is called Bones and All on the Netflix.
Speaking of Rogan, how twisted this stuff is. Now there's a rumor that NBC might want to piece off MSNBC.
Yes.
The cable news channel. And then Musk has been making noise about buying it, and obviously that would turn it pro-Trump.
Yes.
And Rogan comes out, I mean, tongue-in-cheek, but it just kills me. He said, yeah, and I'll do the 9 o'clock spot. I'll replace Rachel Maddow, and I'll lie just like she does. And I'm thinking of all the fucking guys to accuse somebody else of lying. And again, all these people that listen to Rogan and actually think that's the gospel and what he is saying to you is true, I know what this comic is saying. But, yeah, so wouldn't that be something? It must be great, if you're Elon Musk and you can... Anything that's put up for sale, you can think about buying it. Anything.
Yeah, well, look what he did to Twitter. X, he bought it for $44 million. It's now been valued at $12 billion. So good for him. And I heard that rumor about MSNBC listening to the countdown with Olbermann. I don't know. I mean, do you think that's a possibility that he could actually?
Oh, I don't. Who knows? I don't know. You know what? With him, who knows? I don't know, Howard. Seems unlikely, but he could easily afford it.
If they put it up for sale. It's not really for sale. They just spun it off into a different company.
But it's amazing. I hear those stories, and I just think people actually put Rogan on and go, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Joe.
Well, they do.
Oh, yeah, Joe. Oh, yeah, right, Joe. Jesus
yeah, they do.
Christ.
Speaking of, you were talking about, this was before the show. You and I were talking about the economy and how the economy is, actually done better under Biden, at least the last year and a half. I saw a stat this morning from Zoom. Zoom's changing their platform. They're trying to market themselves now as more of a full communications platform versus just Zoom meetings. So they're changing the name to Zoom Communications and whatever. They're trying to reconfigure their. And I saw this. What interested me is that Zoom stock. The stock is down 85% since the height of Zooming during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021.
Right.
And what I thought was interesting, and we all had a chance to do it, but somebody somewhere in 2018 or 2019 bought some stock in Zoom. Just one of those things where it's, hey, I heard about this platform and it's kind of like Skype, and who knows? Maybe they bought a few thousand shares of Zoom, and then in 2019 or early 2020, and then they just bought a boat or some shit.
Well, how much did it sell for then? Do you have those numbers?
I don't have that, but it went crazy there for a while. I mean, it was.
Oh. Yeah. The thing about those stocks, it's when is it time? A rule of thumb is you invest in a stock, and when you can, take out whatever you invest in it. And now it's all play money. But at what point do you get out? You know what I mean? Because you're always living with the thought that it could get higher. Okay, I bought it for $4. Now it's worth $20. I'm not going to sell it. It might go to $40. That game you play?
Yeah, I've done that a few times.
the betting part in your brain. The risk tolerance section of it. Yeah,
I've been on the other side of that. I've been on the other side where I bought a stock that was pretty well thought of, and then saw it kept going lower, and I thought, well, it can't go any lower. I bought Nortel. It just kept going lower as if someone had thrown it off a fucking building. And I thought, I kept saying to myself, well, it can't go any lower, and it did.
I remember having that conversation with you. And I forget what year that was.
Way back in the Nortel days, yes, the 90s.
Oh, yeah. It was And I remember our conversation was, how much lower can it go? It might be a good time to get in before it zooms back up. And it never did.
It never did.
I never invested in it.
Yeah, I did. I've looked at the things I've invested in. If I had just not invested in them, I would have done so much better. If I just had the money I invested in that stuff, I would just, put it in a fucking GIC, I would have been better off.
Those kinds of things. That's you should be thinking about it as play money. Like I did the same thing with Ethereum, and I took like $300. Said, okay, well, just see what happens, because the Bitcoin thing was racing back and forth, and it dropped below the 300 at one point last year, I think, that I invested. But right now it's sitting like 5 something. So you watch that bounce up and down, and that takes care of your. For me, it's like, oh, that's a risk. I don't want to. I'm glad I didn't put any more in there, but I wish I did, but I didn't.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've never done that. I know people that throw $300 or $500. To me, it's almost like that could be more aggravating, because you put $500 in and it like totally explodes. It's like, oh fuck, why didn't I put 5,000 in there? I should have.
And I've said this recently, and I'll say it again, that I seriously still don't understand what Bitcoin is, how it's used, what kind of investment it is. But my daughter, Charlie, the night after Trump won, I was talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I just made my Bitcoin went up. I'm like, great. But what does that even mean?
That stock is so expensive. You just buy a little portion of one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's how you invest in it now. It's crazy.
But
it's
did.
Absolutely crazy. Oh,
and I just wonder, like, where are those?
It was a penny stock, Howard, in 2011.
So how do you get in? How do you get those conversations going, Dan, Fred, where you're like in with somebody that knows something, and they say, hey, you should try and throw a few $1,000s into this, and somebody did in 2011. Somebody bought Zoom stock. Somebody bought Apple back in the day. Just not us.
What makes you feel better is that most of the people that you know and deal with in a day, they don't either, because it's just a world that takes place beyond our thoughts or prayers. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like there's all sorts of investors already rich who have become stinking, filthy, rotten rich off, Bitcoin and crypto. It's and not to keep bringing Trump up, to get back to investments, and I think we've mentioned it on the show, it's been proved that if he had just taken the $400 million he got from Daddy and just put it in a safe investment portfolio, he'd be richer today than he is now because of all this, his failed businesses. Although right now with the crypto, I guess, if he's invested in that and the fake Truth Social, I guess he's doing all right, but again, the myth of him being a great businessman is a myth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's been well established by now.
Oh, well established.
Well established. And if we may, I could just take a bit of hearkening right now. I mean, hearken back to this conversation about when you say that, take comfort in the fact that most of the people in our whatever level we're at in society, they're not the ones who get the inside information or have a friend who has a company that's about to explode. But there are people, like I've been around enough people in my life in the golf world, and I hear conversations about so-and-so buying this and that. And part of it is, somebody has to give you that opportunity, and you have to decide that, okay, I'm going to spend this many thousands of dollars and see what happens. And I can tell you, in all the years I've been taking those flyers, only one ever paid off, and it took 14 years. There's no, like my dad used to say that, and you've heard, the rich get richer. Well, how the rich get richer is because they're friends with other rich people that tell them of these opportunities.
No, I get it. And, another aspect of that, because I'm involved in something right now that I think you are, and it's like, say it lost 50% of its value. You're sitting there going, oh, I'll get out now, but then I've lost 50%. Oh, maybe I should just hang on and see if I can get my money back even. Like, they're tough choices to make. Investing is one thing, living with it is another.
Are you referring to the thing that we're mutually invested in?
Well, both, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's you have to decide that, and Dan's right. Like you say, it's fun money. Whenever I have these opportunities, I always go, well, I'm going to do this, and imagine that I've thrown that money away. As
and be
opposed
surprised
to
if it wins.
Yeah, and again, I've had one decent return. I mean, again, we're not talking. Listen, the investments you make, sort of more conservative, less of a. Like, those are great. And the Sherpa planning has been great for me. And I know a lot of other people that are part of the Sherpa family. And that's sort of slow and steady, 6 and 7 and 8% returns annually. But every once in a while, you take a flyer on something that, if it did pay off, would be multiples of multiples.
Yes.
But when they don't, it sucks. I still own a weed company.
A what? Oh,
I invested in a weed company, thinking, this is going to be great, and it wasn't. Lost. No. So far I haven't sold it yet, but so far it's lost probably 50% of the investment I put in it.
Yeah,
I'm not selling enough weeds.
It's a private company, Dan. You can't make it. And in a private company, you don't make any money until they sell. There's no one that wants to buy these shares I have. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was a great idea at the time.
There was about 5 pot shops open in my vicinity here. And I think 3 are gone already.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, here we are.
They's gone.
At least, when it comes to and we're going to be talking to Sherpa Jay today. When it comes to that kind of investing, you really do need someone like the Retirement Sherpa team, because that's more sort of, I was going to say, sophisticated in that you need to have sort of an understanding of the nuances of the market, as opposed to just going, hey, a friend's got a stock that does this. And to be completely transparent, Boron 1 is one of those stocks where it's a penny stock now, and as we say when I do the adverts, that they're in a position that very few junior mining companies ever get to, and should it ever get to the point where they bring the mineral out of the ground, it's going to be worth a lot of money, but it could also be worth nothing.
Yes.
Right now, what is it a share? 9 cents a share?
No, as of yesterday, 5.
So 5 cents a share. If you bought it now, and if their plans come to fruition in 3 years, and it's a $5 stock, well, that's a lot of money.
You made some money, and on that point, being invested in such a thing as that, where you're thinking, boy, if it does what you just said, that's a lot of money. I just look at that now as legacy money, because I sit here and I think, I want for nothing. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. Boy, I'd love to be able to give that to my kids and my grandkids,
Yeah, we're at different stages that way. I mean, if that comes through for me, I'll be like, well, at least I won't be living in Fred's shed. Mm-hmm. At least I'll have a home. Daniel.
But wouldn't that be nice to know that, like, your kids and your grandkids really might not have much to worry about the rest of their lives, even if you could just buy them homes, right? Like your grandkids. And
that you have a nice shed.
That's right.
Yeah,
very comfortable.
Beautiful shed with electricity and everything.
All right. Dan Duran's news will be coming up after about a half an hour or so, 25 minutes. As well, Stu Stone from...
I work all day to pay the bills I have to
I thought this was going to start saying money, money, money. In the meantime, Frederick, let's do a little business now.
Okay, football tomorrow, people. Football tomorrow. Bears at the Lions. Oh, those Detroit Lions. They should run all over the Bears. They're a 10-point pick. The Giants at Dallas. Oh, what a shitty game that may be. Giants at Dallas, 2 dogs this year. Although the Cowboys a 3.5-point pick, and the Dolphins at the Packers. Interesting game. I'm going to use the word interesting on that game. Packers a 3-point pick, minus 180 on the money line. And of course, I'm getting these numbers from Bodog. Whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker, casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment, from their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, to their fully loaded casino and racebook. They've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. And of course, tomorrow is American Thanksgiving. The reason for those 3 football games.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we were just talking about Boron 1. That's the name of the company. That is endeavoring to take boron, this mineral that is everywhere, ubiquitous in nature, and take it out of the ground. And as I just mentioned, it's not... This isn't for everyone. If it's a 5-cent stock and you've got a few $1,000s, it could turn into a lot more money. But you also have to understand a lot of these companies, rarely get to this point, but you never know. There's no guarantees, and that's why whenever I talk about it, I say, listen, Fred and I don't know shit. We just know this company supports us, and we're supporting them. That's how it works. And listen, we're hoping that their investment pays off as well. Like, if they start to actually mine boron, it's going to make a lot of money. And so why not have a look at it yourself? You can find out more in the news section of Boron 1, the company, and the website is boron1.com. We got a couple minutes before Stu checks in. There's a new Beatles documentary that is going to be released on Friday. On, I think it's Disney Plus. And I thought our audience that is similar to us and that we all enjoy the Beatles. This particular documentary is called 64, and it's 3 weeks. It's a documentary about the 3 weeks the Beatles spent when they first came to America in 1964. And they had the big Hollywood premiere the other night, I guess, in New York. Chris Rock and all kinds of celebrities, including Paul McCartney, at the premiere of this. And if you have Disney Plus, this might be of interest to you. I know I'm going to try and watch it. Do you have Disney? Do you have Disney Plus? I can't remember if you do or not.
I don't think so.
But you'll be able to
figure it out. One of the kids has put it on here under their account, and it might be there. I don't know. Can you still do that?
I don't know if I don't think you can do that. Actually, with Disney Plus, I don't think you can do that. But
so no, the answer is no.
But you can find it. You can get your son can figure it out. But I think that'll be fascinating, seeing that whole Beatlemania first coming to America in 1964. You would have been 8 years old. I would have been 4.
Yep,
4 years old. Mm-hmm. Now look at us.
And I've said I still vividly. Yeah, I'm going to say vividly remember the Ed Sullivan night. I do. It was a big thing. I really didn't fully understand it, but remember my parents talking about it all day, my brother and sister, somewhat older than me, and sitting and watching it, and it was crazy. Crazy memories 60 years ago. But I remember vividly the day that Kennedy was shot, too. Those things that impact your mind, that you can't remember what happened last week, but you can remember vividly what happened decades ago.
See, I don't recall it vividly. I recall it it's one of those memories for me.
Well, you would have been 4.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where you're like, I'm not sure if I remember it, or did I see so much footage of it, you think you saw it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Stu's with us here. Stu Stone is getting settled. Let me just get him comfortable. My God, look at him! Look at that
guy. I saw that guy in a movie yesterday.
That's right. Please welcome back. Let me see. What's some good Stu Stone music here? Let me see. Man.
Wow, you're putting a lot of thought into this.
Well, it's Stu Stone, for God's sake. Well, here we go. Maybe a little Foo Fighters. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that didn't work. I could play. How about I glued my balls? I glued my balls to my butthole again. How about that?
Oh.
To my butt, yeah.
There we go.
Oh my God, what did I do? I can't take a dump, 'cause now my balls.
As I mentioned, he's returning to our program. He's been a guest many times. We first became aware of our friend Stu Stone back in the Edge days when he and the late Bob Saget, the late Bob Saget, were part of a rap tune that Stu did that he became quite famous for, and that's how we first met. And now, of course, he's a well-known filmmaker and raconteur, storyteller, and all-around great guy. Say hi to Stu Stone, everybody.
Hi, Stu.
Hi, Stu
boys,
Stone.
how are you?
Good, man.
Good morning. Good to be back. Love you guys. And any excuse to wake up to speak to you guys is it's a good day. It's a good day.
Oh, you're too kind.
You're very
too
nice.
kind.
Well, before we listen, the latest movie is called "Don't Fuck with Ghosts." Now we can say that because it's Humble and Fred. Let's just start with that. The title "Don't F." It's in all the material. It's F *** K. Were you worried about the title in terms of people talking about this movie? Wasn't that a concern?
A bit of a concern, yes. But it's I'm a modern gal. I thought maybe it's not going to be that big of a deal it's 2024 going into 2025. I think people have heard worse.
Well, no, of course they have, but on shows like this, it doesn't matter. But I mean, in the general mainstream public,
yeah.
You're not worried about that being like it's somehow restricted because if somebody on whatever entertainment show there is these days, talking about your movie,
it's true. In doing the sort of press sort of loop, there have been places like broadcast television where they couldn't even say the title of the movie. Yes,
right.
You are right about that.
So they wouldn't even say "Don't F with Ghosts."
No,
they won't even go there. Won't even go there. Well, Mike, grow up.
Yeah, grow up. Be more like Humble and Fred. Are you trying to tell me they didn't introduce you with the music? I got my balls stuck to my butthole again. They didn't.
This was a first.
All right.
Well, then why do it, Stu?
I completely agree.
Why do it then?
I did a movie a few years ago called Faking a Murderer, which was sort of done in a similar style with some of the same kind of cast. And that was a spoof of the title Making a Murderer, which is a Netflix documentary.
Yes, sure.
So naturally, this was a follow-up. There was a Netflix documentary called Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh, right. That's right.
So
yes.
I decided, okay, well, let's call this one Don't Fuck with Ghosts.
Sure. All right.
We do have another one coming, and there is no swear words in the next title, so don't worry. We've learned our lesson the hard way, but it didn't really affect. No one's really picked up on what I just said.
Yeah,
right.
But that doesn't matter. It's a catchy title nonetheless.
Absolutely.
And if you're going through the listings looking for something, as we all do. If you saw a title like "Don't Fuck with Ghosts," maybe you would stop on that.
Well, and that's the key point. I mean, back in the day, you needed mainstream media to get the word out. Now, not so much.
No.
So as you say, there's so much choice, and if people are scrolling and looking at new product, they're just going to see it. They're not going to hear about it on global entertainment, per se.
Absolutely. Yeah,
You won't hear about it on global entertainment. But if I had a song called like "My Balls Are Glued to My Ass,"
yes,
I'm gonna stop and listen to that. If I
Yes, you are.
see?
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, the three of us, we understand the way the world works, Stu. These other people, what the fuck do they know? They don't have the insight that we bring to the medium. Let's talk about the movie "Don't Fuck with Ghosts." Tell people what it's all about, Stu, because I watched it yesterday. Fred and he watched some of it. We watched it, for fuck's sake.
I mean, that is, first of all, that in itself is an accomplishment. That Toronto Mike told me that there's no chance that you guys were going to watch it. So I want to first of all say that
what a negative prick!
Such a fuck. He's so negative. Whereas as you know, Stu, we are very positive.
I agree with you. I knew that you would, so I'm happy that you did. The film is basically it is an actual account of myself and my partner and brother-in-law Adam Rodness. Going into the murder capital of Canada, Winnipeg, looking for proof that ghosts exist.
Yes.
And we actually went on a real expedition with real quote unquote real, mediums and paranormal experts and ghost hunters. And we went to actually alleged haunted places, like for real. Just rolled camera to see what would happen. And obviously, being a storyteller and knowing the story that we wanted to tell and assuming what might happen.
Right.
We were able to sort of plot out how we want to see this thing unfold. Now, had we gone out and, some crazy thing was captured on camera, which it may have been, no spoilers, that would have been a great thing.
Well, I want to talk about that too, because I think it's very funny and amusing and interesting to watch. And I love the dynamic between you and Adam, who's been on the program, your brother-in-law. But when you set out to do this, you have to go and get funding. You're saying, okay, this is our premise. It's a mockumentary. We're going to see if we can't capture a ghost on camera. But what about the story itself? Did you write it prior to shooting, or did you shoot it and develop the story as you kind of went along?
Yeah, similar to the Faking a Murder movie, we had an idea of what we wanted to do. We had like a beat. We'll call it like a beat sheet. Of like, this is.
I have a beat sheet too, but it's different. It's in the afternoons one. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And it needs washing.
You have a map of like what's A and what's C or Z.
Yes.
And what's going to happen in between the A and Z is not really known. So a lot of the storytelling is decided in the edit, which does make it quite interesting. And it takes twice as long to make a movie like this, for sure. We shot over 200 hours to make an 88-minute movie.
Wow.
So I could probably edit 3 or 4 movies that are completely different out of the footage that we shot. But, the trick is the wrestling of it. The magic trick that I'm trying to pull off is that somebody who's watching this movie that doesn't know what they're watching might think that they're watching something legit. And they are for a lot of it. And if you're just flipping the channels, again, people don't really flip channels anymore. That's really old-fashioned of me to say, but let's just pretend that people still flip channels. And you landed on this, you wouldn't really know what's going on, and it might catch your attention maybe from the title. But like you say, for example, a movie like Borat.
Yes.
Where Sacha Baron Cohen goes out into the public. He's got unsuspecting public sort of helping him drive the plot. That's a very similar tool that I'm using in my movie. The difference is that when you watch Borat, that is a character. That's a guy playing a character who's fucking. So when you watch our movie, you won't know that. You'll be like, because we're just being ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
And that's
more.
what I was going to say. What I saw, and honestly, I'm going to come clean. I didn't see it beginning to end, but I like the vibe. I like the feel of the movie.
I appreciate that.
No, I do. And you and your brother-in-law, you guys work well together. That's for sure.
I mean, we are no Humble and Fred, but we're trying.
Well, come on, Stu.
Well,
nobody is.
Stu. I mean, look at this. Look at this brilliance. By the way, do you think flipping channels is as antiquated a sentence as checking your Rolodex? I did watch it. Fred said to me before the show, "Did you really watch the whole thing?" I said, "Yeah, I guess I kind of." I mean, I had it on. I was eating lunch. I mean, did I sit down in one? Yes, but I've seen most of the movie, and I don't want to give away some of the stuff that happens at the end. But I will tell you, and I won't put you on the spot, Fred. What was your favorite scene? But I can tell you my favorite scene.
Okay.
And it's fucking made me laugh. It's the scene where you're holding the auditions. And and can I just say the guy that plays the paralegal, like that whole thing was really funny and really well done, and that guy's great. But the fact that we meet him earlier in the movie, and I'm not, again, people will have forgotten this, but when it's fucking revealed that it's him, like that was so fucking funny. First of all, the fact that he was slapping his ass all the way through the audition. It was. Now, was that written, or was that just that actor improvising?
No, that's that actor. That's him. So in order to sort of, we had our crew, everybody involved in the production has to think that they're doing something real. So they can't, we have to go about this in a way that's different than making a typical movie, in the sense that, authenticity is the only thing that will help this magic trick work. So it's like having people in the movie that aren't actors act you're going to see right through it. So they have to be real. They have to be themselves. That includes the crew members, all the other people auditioning. So we didn't know what he was going to do. And when he came into the audition room and did what he did, we were dying.
Well, I mean, wait a second. So it was his idea to dress like that?
He had, well, I mean, I guess. I'm going to give it to him.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to give him the idea.
Very funny.
Because he's a very, very funny actor, and he was in Faking a Murder as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember the movie, but he was like our pizza guy. But this is a guy that looks like such a regular guy that he's just such a perfect guy to be in the movie. So yes, there is, to answer and to sort of ruin Christmas a little bit, there are 4 actors in this movie. And 71 real people in the movie. Yeah. So it's like you can kind of spot the difference between the two. I don't know. But he's a brilliant guy. His name is Josh Cruddas.
Well, that scene's worth the price anyway.
Pretty funny.
And speaking of authenticity and acting, the scene that I was interested in, having been from radio, is when you got a slot on Winnipeg's #1 morning show.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wheeler in the Morning or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And again, a radio background, I'm thinking, did you guys talk before you went in, or was that just a spur of the moment interview? Because the look on his face, I got the impression he really didn't know what to make of it all, so to speak.
He didn't. Yeah, yes. That was legit. Like, that's us going on the radio, booking a slot on the radio to promote our haunted house. So as far as he knows, that's what's happening. That's what's going on. There's no, there's no breaking character, so to speak.
So he wasn't acting at all.
No,
he was not acting. That was a real guy that drinks his coffee out of a mason jar type of guy. That's a real.
Oh, one of those.
One of those guys. I was interested in that too. Being a morning guy, so, you're on this radio, and again, it's typical. It's the guy and a couple of girls, and everyone's. They seem very nice, and they were certainly warm and welcoming to you. The movie we're talking about, everyone, is called. Don't Fuck with Goats. It's available on Apple TV right now, and it premieres on Hollywood Suite January 3rd at 9 o'clock. And, Stu's been on a bunch of times, and this might be the first time we've watched any of your movies. Yeah, and you're pretty good. I really it's, and I don't want to give away the end, but I loved the resolution of everything, and I think people will really enjoy it. I think, as Fred said, you and Adam, your brother-in-law, are just great together. I wasn't sure if he was going to be on with you this morning, but I just didn't. Maybe I wasn't paying attention at that moment. Why his fucking hair changed? I didn't want to go back. I thought I'll just ask Stu tomorrow. Did he fool you, or did you guys do that? Was that inserted in the story?
He had it in his head that he wanted to do that, and he decided that he was going to show up and do that. And it was initially, I will say this, the movie was 20 minutes longer than the one you saw, and in that movie we allude to Adam has a presence around him, and so we had a whole storyline where Adam became possessed.
Okay.
So that was part of that storyline that doesn't really get fulfilled, because I'll tell you, we ended up taking that entire storyline out that because it took you out of the reality.
Wow.
But you left a little bit of it in. There's a few moments there where something starts to happen to him that's unexplained.
Correct. So there is a whole moment that happens where he becomes a monster.
Okay.
So we took that out because it's once you watch that, you're like, oh, okay, this is not real. Yeah. And I wanted to try to keep it I want to keep that feeling as long as possible, and so did Adam. So it made sense. But it's funny that you mentioned that. He
shows up with his hair.
He just wanted to. I think he secretly is going through some, shit. Wanted to, next thing he's going to get a convertible and a couple of earrings, and we're off to the races.
Stu, are you one of those guys now where if you have an idea or a script or whatever, people will actually give you audience? Oh, Stu Stone, I got time for him. Bring it in. Let's see what you got.
Toronto Mike, yes. But outside of him,
right.
No, I think we're building an audience for sure, and it's not easy to do, as you guys may know, not yourselves, but from the people you interview that are from the Canadian industry. It's not easy.
No.
I will say that we've definitely made fans within the industry, which is very helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Our friends over at Hollywood Suite are the most supportive. It's a dream collaboration when we're working with them. As a matter of fact, before we get too lost in the sauce here, January the 3rd, you mentioned, Adam and I will be taking over the entire Hollywood Suite platform that night.
Nice.
So all of the channels, Adam and I will be on. We picked all the movies that will be playing. We'll be introducing all the movies, and all of our movies will be playing, and it's going to be a great night. But Hollywood Suite has been a fantastic broadcast partner for sure.
I want to get back to the movie in a second.
Yep.
But I wanted to ask you, because at the end in the credits, it's Telefilm Canada and some other stuff that I know from, being around, that they're tax credits that you get,
Sure. Yep.
Which brings us to the idea of why you shot it in Winnipeg, why you're shooting these movies, Making a Murderer and this Don't Fuck with Ghosts in Manitoba. I'm assuming because they have better tax credits for, but why is Ontario that far behind that we don't have that for you?
Toronto does have a tax credit. It does have a really good one. But Winnipeg has double the tax credit.
Wow.
It's twice as much.
Could you explain that for people who don't really understand what we're talking about?
Sure. In order to stimulate the sort of economy and Canada as a whole, there's a lot of subsidies in Canada that make it better to shoot in Canada. It attracts the industry to Canada. That's why you see a lot of American productions come to Toronto and across Canada to shoot their movies, because Canada still looks like America, and the people in Canada still speak the same English that they speak in America. So it checks a lot of boxes there. But say I spend $1 in Canada on labor in Ontario, let's just say, and I'm shooting in Toronto, I'm going to get 30% back on every $1 I spend on labor in Ontario. Now in Winnipeg, Manitoba, it's 60%.
Whoa, they launch you.
And if you go to Selkirk, which is an hour away, which is where we went, then it's an extra 5% on that. So it's 65%. So you're basically, you spend 35 cents on the dollar on labor there. That's a great.
And when you say labor, you mean the crew specifically.
Everything, all the stuff that it takes to make the movie. Basically, it's really it's very inviting. Now, listen, you have to go to Winnipeg to do this. Yeah. And I will say that, as Winnipeg is a very lovely place at times, often it isn't. And it is very.
Well, how long were you there for?
I was there for about 2 months.
It's a long time.
What time of the year was it?
In October, November.
Oh, okay.
So
Still
November,
can be cold. Yeah,
very cold.
Fucking devastatingly cold in November.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine living there beyond that. I mean, the people who are there, God bless them, but holy shit, it is like minus 40 outside. You have to plug your car in.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff there. But I will say that and also crew wise, you have, the A crew, the B crew, the C crew that are getting the Universal monster movies that are filming there or whatever, the Hallmark movies are filming there. So Adam and I are there, and we're working with maybe the 5th or 6th guy up on the board, which is good for us, because for the type of movies that I'm making, we lean into it. Mm-hmm. It helps our stories that we're going to Winnipeg and we're working and we're staying and we're interacting. But you know what? I actually do love it. The people that I've been working with in Winnipeg, the crew is very, very happy to be there. They're eager to be there. It's not just like a punch the clock, go to the craft table type of crew. These are people that want to make a movie and they're excited to be a part of it. There's a lot of complexities in that answer. I'm sorry for rambling around.
No, okay.
But it's true. What blows me away is you talk about, how many hours did you say for 88 minutes?
200
hours. I mean, the logistics of that, keeping track of it all, deciding what goes in, what goes out, remembering a certain point that you want to go back to. And I mean, does that take up more time than actually filming the movie? I guess.
Editing it must be a nightmare.
It's very, very frustrating to edit a movie like this. And then, once you get through the edit, after, whittling it down from, let's say, 200 hours to a 100-minute movie, which is, let's say, the cut that I turned in is 105 minutes. Now the one you saw is 88 minutes. So, to get it to 105 minutes, I feel like I've done that job. I have sifted through everything. The best of the best is here. And then I'm told, then there's notes after that. There's always notes. So then there's people that watch the movie and they're like, well, get rid of that, get rid of this. And it's like that becomes a real fight, because then you're in the ring trying to like fight for your ideas at that point. And
but wouldn't you be the Grand Master? Isn't it
you would think?
Oh,
but
you would think.
But it's just not like it is.
So you're the editor, you're the director, but the people at Hollywood Suite or whoever they're the ones footing the bill for the most part, aren't they?
And in this movie in particular, we teamed up with Kevin Hart and his company,
yes.
Heartbeat. So there was a lot more riding on it creatively, I guess, because this is a bigger deal to have Kevin's company on board, and they released it in the States. It's going to go on through their channels in the United States. And so, they had some stuff to say too. But
so Kevin himself or the people at his company?
People at his company.
Have you had any dealing with him personally?
I mean, I've met him before, but he wasn't on set or
right. Of course not.
He was not calling us, being like, "Hey guys." But there's a gentleman named Kevin Healy who was the head of production at Heartbeat, who's very involved with us. He actually came to Toronto for the screening and introduced the movie. And he's a huge champion of Adam and I, and we're very lucky to have his support. My voice.
So if you don't mind, because I think it's of interest in that how these things get made in Canada, what kind of tax credits you get. But does the money come from Kevin Hart's company and what do they call the distributor Hollywood Suite and Apple TV? Are you given money for that, or do you have to use your own money and then get tax credits back? If you don't mind, I don't need to know the budget.
It's a little bit of both. You kind of have to piecemeal it together. Adam and I have been fortunate enough that we've made now 7 or 8 movies, that we have a bit of a reputation where we are bankable now at this point in Canada. So I could go into a network and pitch a project, and
that's huge,
we can get that made. But the tax credit helps big time. And so when I'm going around and pitching this movie to Kevin Hart's company, for example, say the budget is $1 million of this movie. I'm just saying that out loud. That's not necessarily what it is, but let's just pretend that
let's pretend for the sake of this ridiculous discussion, it's $1 million.
Nice round number.
Yes. Yeah, nice round number, $1 million. So my shortfall is really $450,000 because I have a tax credit that I'm going to supplement a lot of that money with. So now I get, let's just pretend I get $100,000 from Hollywood Suite. I get $100,000 from Kevin Hart. I get $100,000 from here. I get $50,000 from there. I'm ready to rock. It makes the recoup. That tax credit is everything, man. It makes the recoup. If on $1 million budget, I only have to make back 45% of my money.
Yeah,
there's a lot of advantages to it.
Well, isn't that where your profit is built in?
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's how the Canadian industry works as a whole. Now, if this liberal government goes away, which it might because everybody hates Justin Trudeau, that could change. That could change. And so it's like someone in our industry, as much whether you like him or you don't like him, in the entertainment industry, that party's been pretty good. For creating subsidies and tax credits and other sort of...
Sure, because you hear that Poilievre's talking about another round of defunding the CBC, and that might also trickle into the movie business. And
I mean, it will. It's not might.
Well,
it
yeah,
will.
And the thing is, it affects all kinds of movie industry coming to Canada, maybe from outside in the States, but those guys could get it... Like those bigger companies could get the movie made anyway, but it's companies like yours that rely on this money to help make whatever size of movies you're making.
It's not just movies, it's music, it's literally theater. Like the subsidies cover a huge chunk of the entertainment industry as a whole.
Yes.
You wouldn't even think about it, when you're driving to work, you're not thinking about that, but it really, your tax dollars, so to speak, are going to work to make Canadian programming and make entertainment industry. I would say that there's probably tax credits in radio and every other industry that has to do with it.
Well, maybe you could help Fred and I get a tax credit for this thing that we're doing.
Well, maybe you could do a movie about, a long time morning show and we could call it Private Pricks.
Well, it's funny. It's funny.
I'd watch that.
It's funny you bring that up, Frederick. It's funny you bring that up because The only thing that I have to say that I didn't vibe with this movie, Don't Fuck with Ghosts, because I watched it all the way to the end, and I'm not sure if the Fred man saw this, but a friend of ours, Gord Martineau, is featured at the... Yes. At the end of the movie, there's an interview with the filmmakers, Adam and Stu.
Yeah.
And
we were slighted, Howard, on something. Is this what you're about to get to?
It should have been you.
We fucking need a psychiatrist collectively.
Okay,
anyway.
The fact that you knew where I was headed shows you how how broken both of us are. All I know is I saw that scene and I thought, why, that could have been the Humble and Fred boys. That could have been, because Gord did a fine job, but would it have been better with Humble and Fred? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Gordy Martin, no, he's up there.
Nah, yeah, I know, but you know what? Listen, he's obviously very handsome on camera, and he looked great, and the interview went off well, but the comedy chops just weren't there, Stewie. Come on, buddy.
Would I have had to drive downtown?
Yes. I knew you were out on that.
Martineau was good.
Yeah, what I've had
Gord is the man, by the way. I just want to give him a shout out.
Oh, he was great. He was great.
I do like Gord a lot. And it's funny that that's even a sentence that I can say, growing up watching Gord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to have him sort of working blue, that's always fun. It's a
great.
fun day when you're with Gord. And he shows up for everything. I mean, this guy is a real trooper. He'll come to the screenings. He'll come to the thing.
This is where that was a good choice then, because we would have done none of that.
Yeah, you guys
Howard, to put the focus back on us, we should have Gord on again. I would love to get his spin on the current, state of news.
We had him on
whatever
at the end when he left City. We had him on.
We should. Actually.
We have him back. Anyway, all jokey jokes aside, we're thrilled for your success. We hope that it continues. Give our best to Adam. Is he still married to your sister?
He is, thankfully. Yes.
And what?
Well, that helps. That helps too, doesn't it?
Yes.
So this how long did it take you to make this? Is this a 1.5-year project?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's probably this one actually is about a year exactly. Gate to gate. We shot it last Halloween, and it came out this year on Halloween.
And so it's November 27th, 2024. And you mentioned earlier in this conversation that you guys have already started thinking about the next project. Yep. At what stage you're editing? I understand the process. You're editing a lot of stuff. At what stage do you and Adam and your team start thinking, okay, well, this one's almost done. What's the next thing we're going to do? And what is the next thing you're going to do?
The next one is called Size Matters, and we are looking for Bigfoot. That we've teased it in the film.
Right.
And that is actually happening. We are actually already greenlit to do this movie, and we are going to go out and search for proof that Bigfoot exists. And we have a whole slew of ideas. Adam and I sort of look at sort of the Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy model, where it's like Laurel and Hardy go to space.
Yeah.
Money. Like every single time, it's just like the same sort of show, but you just interchange the characters.
And similar in terms of like the mockumentary style, where you and Adam are sort of narrating it through those interstitials or those interviews.
Exactly. So that's going to happen all over again. And every single time we make a movie, we get a little bit more money and we get to do a little bit more magic, which is very, very fun. So you can only imagine what we have in store for Bigfoot. And, there are a lot of Bigfoot believers out there. The cryptozoology field is a very vast field of believers. So it'll be very fun to go out into the world with these real sort of Bigfoot trackers and see if we can't find good old Sassy or Sasquatch.
Yeah, you startled me there. Size Matters. I'm thinking they're doing the Dan Duran documentary.
That's what I thought so too. Is Dan Duran going to?
I don't know, Dan. I don't know, Stu. Do you know that Dan is on the show? He's got a reputation for having a huge hog.
Dan has a giant.
I haven't experienced it, but I've heard it.
Yeah, you could have done this. Don't fuck with Dan, because it's very, very painful. Don't fuck with ghosts is the latest. Here we go. This will never not be your theme. So yes, the slight with Gordon Martineau aside, we're big fans of Stu and Adam, and we wish you all the best. It's available right now on Apple TV. And will premiere on Hollywood Suite January 3rd. And Stu and Adam will be hosting that night. And always great catching up with you. All jokey jokes aside, all the best and happy for your success.
Thank you for always giving me a platform to come on and showcase what we're working on. And you know how much I love you guys. So thank you very much.
Well, yeah.
Thank you, Stu.
When is Gord going to have you on his podcast? Okay, I'm over it. It's fine. Thanks,
guys.
Stewie. Take care,
Stu.
man. That was so funny. Both of us are like, is this another Humble and Fred are slighted? Oh, yeah. My favorite part of what you said, though, is like, we need a psychologist? What do you mean? And what that just occurred to you now? I think if you get a chance to watch the whole thing, it's pretty interesting how they wrap it up. I don't want to give it away in case people do watch it, but it's got a kind of a cool ending and all kinds of chaos ensues. And then the Gordon Martineau thing is very funny. And anyway, yeah, it was good.
I'd love to have Gord on because I don't know if you've seen, not CP24, but City Pulse News now.
No.
What it was and what it is now, it's embarrassing. It's like a college station. Just love to get his take on where we're at with all that.
And he's fully retired? You don't see him doing anything in the morning?
No, just movies, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I was like, well, Gordon Martineau, what is he doing in this thing? Where Humble and Fred? You know me, that's how I think. I spend my whole day.
Yes, you do think. How was I slated?
How was I slated? How are we slated?
What about me?
What about me? Yeah, listen, we got to move on before Jay Bondi joins us. You know, I'm having trouble with some of my, sorry, Fred, I'm having trouble with Spotify. I need to shut it down and start again because it's doing this thing where I'll hit something and it'll play for a second or two and then just stop. So why don't you just start something and I'll see if I can catch up with you in a second.
Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. If you've thought about a benefits package for your small business, go there today, chamberplan.ca, get all the information. You know, it hits all the basic notes, dental and prescriptions and travel insurance, some therapies, all the things that you want from a benefits package to give your people the security they probably deserve. It's a great system. It's designed for small business. So as you investigate, you'll see how it works for small business. Again, do it today. Chamberplan.ca.
How about bringing your party to Kelsey's Original Roadhouse this holiday season? Get 10% off when you host a party of 8 or more and use their group menu. And speaking of Kelsey's, we have a big party on the 22nd of December. We'd love to have you there. So far, Freddie, it's going to be completely transparent. Just coming in dribs and drabs, dribs and dribbles. Mm-hmm. Not getting the kind of avalanche of Humble and Fred interest that we normally get. We'd love to have you there December 22nd. Just send us an email, Humble and Fred, at humbleandfredradio.com, when you can be part of another Kelsey's get-together, which are always very, very fun. But I will continue to tell you about Kelsey's. Hockey is part of what's going on at Kelsey's these days. You can go and watch the game. Join everybody at Kelsey's for a $5 Molson Canadian and $10 appetizers during happy hour. Plus, enter for a chance to win a behind-the-glass experience, jerseys, and tickets. Cheer on your team at Kelsey's, the Original Roadhouse. Visit kelseys.ca for full details. Yeah, Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com is how you get to be part of the festivities. I think we're going to have some entertainment there. We're going to have some friends of the program. We're going to have probably Sherpa J will be there.
Mm-hmm. He's a man about town. He's a man about town, just like you, Howard. A man about town.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Here's his theme song. There we go. Always a pleasure to convene with our pal Jay Bondi. J.Bondi at... I should know this by now. J.Bondi at retirement... What is it? I've completely blanked.
Raymond James.
Raymond James, that's it. J.Bondi at raymondjames.ca. is how you get a hold of Jay, and the entire Retirement Sherpa team stands behind everything. How you doing there, JJ?
Good morning, guys. Good morning. You can find us at retirementsherpa.ca as well if you want to go to the website, for sure.
Well, it's very catchy, that one. People remember.
I'm going to officially invite you to join us at Kelsey's again, December 22nd. It's a Sunday. Bring the family. Bring everybody. Bring everyone down for a Sunday noon get-together with Humble and Fred.
Sounds good. We'll check the holiday planning schedule. I know it's the holiday season because I joked with a client yesterday that I know it's the holiday season when my heart rate comes down after putting the Christmas lights up, which I'm fairly certain this was the final year for it. Doing the DIY. I think I'm done with it.
No. Several years I shut it down. I said, no, that's it. I got 3 or 4 floodlights. That's it. I am not climbing up there and putting that stuff up.
We got a 2-story ladder. I was up on the top third of it, coming down comfortably. I'm always comfortable on heights, and they don't ever bother me. But I missed, I felt like I couldn't find my foot on the next rung. And
there you go.
And then all of a sudden I panicked. That was it. I grabbed onto the ladder. I closed myself in tight, and I was hugging it, waiting for help to guide me down.
I've never been comfortable on a ladder that high. I just, because I don't like heights to begin with. But I know that feeling, that sort of feeling like, what if I miss this and fall down to my doom?
I always get a spotter now. I don't care how big the ladder is, even if it's the least. Just in case you fall, smash your head, somebody can call 911.
It was a clear, eye-opening experience where it's we're in the risk management business, Tim and I, and this is just not a risk I need to take any longer. So
I know this isn't part of. I mean, maybe we should have sent you a note because I don't want to put you on the spot. And if you have nothing to say about it, that's fine. But in the news this week was talk about this orange beast that will be the president in a few months, talking about tariffs and how they're going to put a tariff on goods coming in from Canada. What have you heard? If you have heard anything in the financial world about this?
Yeah, I mean, we got back from our national business conference a couple weeks ago. Tariffs, all the other goings-on south of the border, they're always high on our list. Obviously, being we're a cross-border serving client-facing company, Tim and I, with the Retirement Sherpa, but Raymond James, obviously, with 1.64 trillion in assets worldwide, definitely has some interest in global economy for sure. So, the tariff, we'll see. I mean, that's the big thing. I believe, especially north of the border, this is more of a unfounded threat to tighten things up as opposed to a real goal to create these enhanced tariffs. But yeah, I mean, everything that is talked about in the media, the markets kind of weigh those, and the guys that do all the PMs do all the portfolio analysis on these things and make their adjustments. They price a lot of that kind of potential stuff in based on what their best beliefs are.
Well, that's the one thing to hold on to. All the stuff I've read, it's so outrageous and would be so damaging to them as well. It's obviously just a threat to get us to tighten up our border.
What is our, as we've referred to him, big orange friend like more than anything? He likes people talking about him, right?
Yeah.
Sadly, we're not sadly, but we're giving leverage to that,
well,
right?
People are talking about
it would not be something that would be wise for either side of the border to impose them at that such level.
The problem is it's more than just us talking about it. I mean, it's the Prime Minister is convening a premier's meeting because they have to deal with it. I mean, just on the threat of it. But I like what you said about the markets having baked some of this stuff already in. Because, of course, for people that invest with you and others, as soon as you hear things like that, you start thinking about your portfolio. But let's get back to and we were talking about you earlier in the show about how the kind of Sherpa style investing, is more of it's not, you're not taking flyers on things. Let's talk a little bit about the long-term performance value of that type of investing.
I mean, last week we got to it a little bit. We talked about kind of the the whole idea behind the value of Sherpa style investing as being a core element, we believe, in everyone's portfolio. We talked about the 1/3 approach of having growth for balance with value versus with income generation. All of that is great, but ultimately the importance is to truly work towards building a diversified portfolio investments with low correlation. That's the key. The low correlation, what that helps to do is it minimizes overall risk and it optimizes returns. So the less that everything moves up and down in the same direction at any given time, just ensures that we have a nice low correlation of investments, which is something we don't see enough of when we get to review other people's investments.
And why do you think that is?
You know what? A lot of it is to do with just the alternative strategies are ones that historically, you go back to old school, older style investing. It wasn't part of it. It wasn't. It was seen as a possible riskier type investment where the realities have been that the Canadian pension plan. So we talk about people that use these strategies. They're pretty smart people. The Yale Endowment, Harvard Endowment, the Canadian Pension Plan, JP Morgan and BlackRock for their high net worth clients. I mean, these are massive, major groups, and they're using up to 50% of their overall portfolio is in non-market related investments of various types. You have your non-public fixed income, you have your private equity, you have private infrastructure, you have private credit. All of these things that start with the word private aren't being traded on a publicly daily basis, right? So that's the key to it, and we use a portion of that with every client's portfolio, up 25 upwards of 40%, depending on the need.
So it says here you want to speak to the difference between nominal rate and real rate returns.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I mean, this is just something that GICs have definitely been a safe haven for far too long. I mean, when we always want to make sure that people understand that, if you go back a 5-year history and we look at it, 5 years ago, 2019, you could get a 5-year GIC for 2.3%. That was the average rate. Well, you could do that a little bit better in 2021 at 2.35. And in 2023, now in 2023, they're offering some decent returns at 5.2%. So, the reality of the nominal versus the real rate of return is you got to take in inflation into that, guys. So if you go back to 2020, 21, 22, when you had this 5-year GIC locked in, well, you're barely keeping up with the rate of return, with the inflation, and thus your returns are being minimized to basically keeping up with the consumer price index, and your buying power isn't getting any stronger by doing that. That's for sure.
This inflation bump that we've had, since COVID, does that screw with a lot of planning, or can you still, when you talk about looking at history 5, 10, 15 years, this is just another thing along the way, and when you look at the, inflation across the board, it's like, we'll be all right. You know what I mean? We can still design plans based on the history of inflation as opposed to this, what we've just been through.
Absolutely. In the short term, everyone has a short-term tendency to remember what's happened in the last 1, maybe 2 years. For some, maybe it's the last month. Who knows what they can remember and how far back. But yes, you can definitely design a plan for it. We can already see that the whole interest rate hike that happened, which benefited the GIC worlds, though that interest rate is coming back down. Why? Because it's coming back with inflation. As inflation gets under control, back in around the standard goal, which the Bank of Canada goal is to have interest rates around 2.1, 2.2% for the long term. That's looking out the 10, 15, 20-year window. So when we get it back under control, that's why you're seeing interest rates being able to fall to support that, and obviously then other things like mortgages and stuff benefit from these rates falling. So yeah, it all can be built into a plan, and one that we enjoy taking that long time horizon outlook.
And no matter what you plan, you never know. One day the orange beast wakes up and It's all gone to shit, but until that happens...
Or maybe, if we're lucky, he doesn't wake up.
That's right. Fingers crossed. In the meantime, it's important to have somebody that has a plan, and that's the retirement Sherpa team. Sherpa J today, j.bondi@raymondjames.ca. Thanks, my friend. We'll speak to you soon, and consider yourself formally invited to Kelsey's on the 22nd, my friend.
The date is on the calendar,
All right,
gentlemen.
buddy.
Thanks for the
Right on,
invite.
brother.
We'll do what we can to be in attendance.
I'll stand under the mistletoe for you, Jay.
All righty. It's looking more promising already. Thanks, guys.
Speaking of hoping you don't wake up, Jesus. Thanks, man.
That's right. I was gonna go. Not so sure now.
Right. I don't know about French kissing Fred under the mistletoe, but hey, if it helps us keep a client, man. There you have it. Lots of he's a good guy, Jay, and lots of great advice
Fine young man.
from the
Fine
people
young
at the
man.
Retirement Sherpa. Retirement Sherpa head office. Did you already do
Yes.
Bodog?
Yes, we're up to date, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
well
we
then,
are.
if you've talked about Bodog, what about Bodog?
Feeling caught in a neutral zone? When things start to go offside, you know it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Check out the latest sports odds and get free tips to help you score this hockey season. Visit Bodog.net today. #Make a play.
Yeah, we were talking about, did we mention the postal strike? We were talking about the other day. Mm-hmm. And, there's a couple of aspects. I think did you mention passports? Or was I talking about
Yes.
it?
It's playing havoc right now.
Well, it's playing havoc because people are trying to get their passports figured out. I'm trying to get to the 85,000 of them are being held by Service Canada right now as the Canadian postal strike is continuing. The federal agency stopped mailing passports November 8th in anticipation of the strike. And if you think about it, that's a lot of Canadians trying to make plans for the winter, trying to get their passports figured out, including yourself.
You know what sucks?
Yes.
A lot of things.
A lot of
February
things
1st,
suck.
everything sucks. February 1st, I'm going to Costa Rica.
All right.
You know what their policy is? As long as your passport is valid on the first day there, you're fine. They don't care. Then you look at a place like Portugal, say in the spring. Portugal, you can't go there unless your passport is valid 6 months after you leave, for whatever reason. So depending on where you're going, really adds sort of to the complications of it all. So I'm thinking ours are up at the end of May. I'm good for Costa Rica, but if we want to go somewhere else sort of in the spring, I sort of got to get on top of it now. And went over to Brampton Passport Office the other day, and it was lined up, as you can imagine, forever. And then Kitchener on Monday, I thought, Delise is going out to see her mom. We'll go to the Kitchener office. How bad can it be? So I go into this building, and I'm in line for 20 minutes, doesn't move. This woman comes out from the passport office, and she says, just so you know, this section of the line, not sure you'll get in by 4 o'clock. And it was like 10:45 in the morning.
Wow.
So the Fred man turned around, turned heel, and left. And
Well, I had a similar experience last year. I went to the actual Canada, whatever that main office for the government is in North York. And I thought I was just going to drive up there and get my passport renewed, and they just laughed at me. It was like, what are you kidding me? You got to, and that was a similar thing. I got there like late morning, 11:30. And then I was told by the woman there that if you wanted to try, say, in Mississauga, I didn't realize you could do that. So where I went to between Christmas and New Year's, I just lined up at a Service Canada place in a mall in Mississauga at like 6:30 in the morning, and it was 2 hours to get into the building, but I was there for the long haul.
So I went to a Service Canada in Georgetown last week, and we walked in. There's nobody there, and I'm thinking, wow, aren't I lucky? And the guy stands up and says, why are you here? And I said, passport renewal. He said, sorry, man, with the postal strike. He said it's going to be 6 weeks through this office, probably longer. He said, when are you traveling? I said, Feb 1. He goes, you know what? Can't guarantee that you'll see that passport. We don't know where it will be after it leaves this office or after it's renewed. So I had to walk out of that situation. Again, the best time to do it is when you're under no pressure at all. If you're renewing, once the strike is over, the postal strike, just throw it in the mail or courier it there, and then they mail it back is the best way to go. If you're not under time restrictions,
or do what I did eventually is if you want to get to one of those offices and
the Service Canada.
Well,
right?
You don't mind going at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And, hanging out in a line for a couple hours. And then now that I remember it, I applied and I didn't have them mail it to me. I went back and picked it up.
Right. And just so you know, there's two distinct things here. There's the passport office and there's Service Canada. The passport office, obviously, passports, the fastest, quickest, most efficient way. Service Canada, they will do it, but there are, different time frames
for sure.
on that. Yeah.
So another aspect of the strike, is it the second week of this? Mm-hmm. Well, whatever it is, a lot of people still use the mail when it comes to donations. Donations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those two, yeah.
When it comes to donations to charity. A lot of people still use the mail. Local charities, including the Salvation Army and United Way chapters, have warned that the ongoing postal strike could cause a steep drop in donations during this most charitable time of the year. Food banks in Mississauga, organizations across the country, all having... It's going to be a bit of a crisis for them if they can't get people... if they're not able to send the money.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can...
what can I do?
Maybe you can interact it.
I could do what?
e-transfer
it to them. Maybe they could come up with something like that.
You make a good point, Fred, in that what the strike is expediting people's knowledge and skills in order to use other means.
Yeah.
And that's the downside. I hope they calculated that when they decided to go on strike, because you're just training people up to not use it even more.
Do without
right?
it.
Yeah.
And not only that, you want to talk about, listen, we all want more money, and I understand that, but when your demands or your want is 24% over 3 years, you lose a lot of people. Sorry. And you know what? They may deserve it, not questioning that, but in today's atmosphere, when it's public that you want 24% over 3 years, again, a lot of people go, wow, where's my fucking letter, please?
Yeah.
And
to the point of what do they call that? Obsolescence. Planned obsolescence or built in. But I haven't. We had talked about this a few weeks ago. None of us have sent a letter in the. I can't remember the last time, and I certainly we don't use the mail anymore the way we did when we were kids. To the point about e-transferring and such like that. Like, think about all the mailing we used to do just to do banking or paying bills.
Oh yeah.
So they better be
Remember
careful.
That.
Pardon?
You actually put your hydro bill in the mail.
In the mail.
And then they came out with the touch tone where you could pay them from home by, doot, deet, doot, 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 doot. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But
you sound like Trump there for a sec.
But, and how that, this whole essential service aspect of it all, how is that not an essential service? And I know people that work for the post office are screaming right now, fuck off, we're not,
Well, people in general often do that during this program.
Fuck off. Right. But, as a letter carrier, as a postal worker, that you have a pretty important job, and if I go on strike, I could paralyze the country. I have that power.
Yeah.
So when the pushback is maybe that should be an essential service, and I know that's a drag with collective bargaining, but If you take the job knowing that you're an essential service and that's the situation, well, then you live with it, I guess.
It's almost hard to believe it's not an essential service, especially at this time of the year, and especially for those two different aspects of it, passports and charity. And also, think about it. All the people, it's November 27th. People wanting to send packages and gifts to loved ones across the country in warming everyone's cuckles. Hey, kids, it's almost time for this.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now live from Lisa's house, the matrimonial home of Mr. and Mrs. Duran, squeezed between some kind of fancy art installation and a Christmas tree, here is movie anchorman and all-around fine citizen of this planet, Daniel J. Giebert Duran III. Dan?
All right. The world's oldest man has died. He was an accountant and counted it out at 112.
Wow.
Nova Scotia, the PCs in Nova Scotia were re-elected yesterday.
Yes.
And their
PC
premier...
department.
Yeah, the PC department. Their premier... Anyone?
Doug Watson. Dougie Watson.
You don't remember even from yesterday.
No.
You can't keep a premier's name in your head in Canada.
For one day. That's a lot.
For one day.
It's a lot. What's his name?
Yeah. Tim Houston.
Did you remember that from yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Did you really? Well, you have a lot less to think about in a day.
Well, maybe, but I mean, I wrote it from yesterday.
Okay,
it's interesting how we don't pay attention to Canadian politics, but I'm probably there's 3 or 4 states in the United States that you could probably name the
absolutely.
Okay, so anyway, that's the point.
You don't have to get mad at us.
Speaking of the United States, Trump wants to put a big donor with no military experience in charge of the world's 4th biggest navy, while Biden pardons 2 turkeys named Peach and Blossom. Imagine waking up in the morning and you're in charge of the free world and what's on my to-do list today?
No, I know. It's a crazy tradition, yeah.
But let's talk about the squirting cucumber. Monday, scientists announced that they have finally
one of my favorite categories in Pornhub, by the way, is squirting cucumbers.
It's cute.
Solved the centuries-old mystery of how the squirting cucumber explosively squirts its seeds. They blast their seeds over distances hundreds of times their length. As it drops from a stem, it launches a fountain of seeds and sticky liquid at a velocity of around 70 kilometers per hour. They used high-speed video, time-lapse photography, CT scans, and digital 3D reconstructions to analyze squirting cucumbers. And before, during, and after the squirt, and created mathematical models to describe the fruit's geyser-like eruptions.
Yeah. In the end, did it turn out to just be urine? Because that's what it.
Hey, so where is this happening? Paint a picture for me. At what point does this happen that the cucumbers are squirting stuff?
When they fall from the stem, they squirt. It's like 0.3 seconds or 0.03 seconds it takes to happen.
So when we get one at a grocery store,
it's a different cucumber.
Oh, it's not. Those aren't the squirting ones.
No.
Oh, yeah, I see. Listen, this is a special squirting cucumber.
Yeah, I've had a lot of cucumbers in my life, but I've never come across one that's squirted.
It squirts, yeah. The squirting mechanism is a little more. They found out it's more complex than just a simple buildup of liquid and a release of internal pressure.
Yeah.
Along with cucumber engorgement, other physical changes in the plant before, during, and after the explosion shape the angle, the height, and distance of a successful seed spew.
Wow. I remember Dahl once did the rumba on my cucumber.
I don't know about you guys, but my cucumber doesn't squirt anywhere near as much as it used to.
No, it sort of falls.
No, I mean, whatever. But it's just you don't get as I don't get the seeds. There's not as many seeds as
are
there once
useless.
was. Yeah, there used to be a lot of seeds.
This spew is not.
You have to coax them out.
Now it's
Come
more
on,
like, more
slap
like
it.
fucking toothpaste coming out of a tube.
Oh, gross.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. Did I fucking wreck your
Yeah,
fucking...
you went over the line right there.
Did I wreck it? Oh, fuck that. Fuck all
it.
that.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. Oh, I'm sorry. I've crossed the Dan Duran line again. The Rubicon of Dan Duran. Now, listen, we got to go. Stu Stone, thank you very much for that. Great chat with Sherpa J. And tomorrow is all about the emails, kids. So if you haven't yet heard your name on our program, why not send us a note? Because tomorrow's wide open. What? What are you laughing about?
No, just the silliness, the fun, the hilarity.
Oh, yeah.
The laughter.
I have I got to go. But I will tell you tomorrow about, I've been taking Spanish for a while. Well, today I have a Spanish lesson with my instructor, but I'm also going into a group lesson, which I did for the first time last week. And I will tell you, it was like being back in school. It was unnerving.
Oh,
and
right.
I got very nervous. Anyway, that's on tomorrow's program, along with your emails. Thanks again, Dan Duran.
This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, we read all the emails. And we got an email show coming up tomorrow. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. We love to hear from you, so send something now. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Of course, only if you've got something to say. And something you can do to help us out. Tell your friends, subscribe to the podcast. Rating helps as well. From the Keith Weiland Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, don't cross the line. The hilarity is over. Go out and enjoy every goddamn day.
Just clap your hands or just clap your hands. Where's that?